Everest.
Cole, Parsons Cole, Pepperidge. It's a Cole of some kind. It's proven. It's a kid that
He's a prospect, baby.
well, he ain't a prospect anymore. Right now
He's in the
right now
lineup.
I guess you would call him either Shane Monahan or the next Ken Griffey Jr. You could go between either one because he seems to be hitting the ball. And when people hit the ball, you always, especially at this young, tender age, you get compared to any number of people, right? I mean, it's really kind of I don't know why we do. Well, I know why we do it because it gets people to excited. It gets people, um, jumping up and down because they want to compare the old to the new.
Plus, a lot of people remember when Mickey Mantle came up, kid from Oklahoma, came up from Scranton, I guess. What are you doing for us, kid? This is the New York Yankees. There's no room for a guy trying to play his way into the lineup. You have to really show us something.
Yeah, well, and that's it. And but it always has amazed me to see how many people people compare and I'm not saying anything bad against it. I mean, it's part of the love of baseball is reaching back into that into the past and talking about the future. It's just something that really the people have loved all the years that baseball has been in existence. And and this kid Cole Emerson is a kid that one day you knew at some point he was gonna get up here. You knew he had. I mean, if you watched him at all, and I didn't actually. I'm only going by what I read, it, but
He didn't make an impression on you in spring training.
well, I didn't see that much of him. You know what? I didn't see a lot of spring training. You know, I just you don't see as many games as you'd like to, unless you want to pay the money to see it.
Right.
Unless you
Pay to play.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and to be honest, I waited this year a little bit to spend my money. So I listened to the games on the radio.
Right.
Um, as a matter of fact, this may sound cheap of me, but listen, I'm a senior citizen living on a budget, and uh, so unfortunately, $200 or whatever it is just to go for the Mariners to watch the Mariners is a lot of money right now. I mean, again, so and I'm being very honest about it. It's not like the old days. Now there's a few games that they put on King Five, and that's beautiful. But look, the kid is 20 years old, 20, 21, 20 or 21. They stuck him at third base. He made a couple of great catches there. He had an OPS of 828 in the Cactus League, but was sent down to AAA because they had Brendan Donovan.
Yeah, they had a third baseman.
They had a third baseman, and when Brendan Donovan went on the injured reserve list, whatever they call it these days, um, he got a shot. So now, well, let's see what he does. He got, and if he fails, let's not jump on him and go that he's a bust. This is if he comes up and goes back down, he's 20 years old.
They used to say you can't hit the curveball. You go down to AAA and figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've heard and what I've seen of him, and everything, you know, it looks like he's going to be the real deal. But how many guys have we said is going to be the real deal?
I remember they sent Willie McCovey down. They were going to send Willie Mays back down because he went over 20 and he took some time to get acclimated. Now, as it turned out, the time was well spent. He did get acclimated. He found his place in center field and he found his place in the National League. Same thing for McCovey, but McCovey was sent down when the AAA for the Giants was in Tacoma. So he didn't really get sent down. He got sent up the coast, sent back and took the SF off his hat and put a T on it. And they said, "You're playing first base. You got to learn to hit the curveball. Good luck to you, kid." Stretch, as they called him in those days. And his time there was well spent. He came back up and he began to be a major league hitter. And you can't say when that's going to happen. You can't say when you cross the line and become a guy who's never going to see AAA again.
Well, and listen, I don't want to skew the conversation towards sending him down because everybody has said on the ball club that he's here to stay. He wasn't brought up as kind of a replacement. He's
find a place, put him there.
Yeah, he's brought up. He was ripping up AAA so much that it was time to let him and the Mariners can use a spark. They could use something to make them start. Just put a spark in them. Cal Raleigh isn't doing it this year so far. He's not horribly off, but he's off enough. And you and I know how many times you see a kid come up or a kid get traded over and he sparks the team. Yep. People get excited about it. And there's no reason to not get excited about Cole Emerson. He's got a ton of people. His family's up here he'll watch.
Not just hitting, but hitting with power.
Yeah, I mean, what did he have? He had, again, I didn't. They got him hitting ninth and playing third. First game he went 0 for 2 with a walk and a run scored, but it seems like he is now found his group.
He hit a dinger last night, right?
Dinger last night, his first major league home run. And the thing that I think is intriguing about him is that he's part of that 2023 class. He was the number 6 overall prospect in the game, but he's made it up to the major leagues in I'm not going to say record time, but in quicker time than many expected. Many would like, some people, but there's 2 other guys from that 2023 draft that made it up before him: Bryce Eldridge of the Giants and the Tigers' Kevin McGonigal. That's a name, huh? Kevin McGonigal.
He's slightly Irish.
How's your McGonigal? Scottish, I think. No. So, he came up in the right place. He gets a 3-game series against the White Sox.
It's a comfortable place to start.
Yeah. And so we'll see what happens. He's got to the biggest thing he's got to remember, the difference from AAA. And I think this is something that is somebody sent it a little thing here, a note to us this morning asking, what's a life tip for the younger generation? And it's interesting that you bring that up because this is my life tip for the younger generation. Somebody told it to me one time.
Show up, suit up, and don't be late.
Sitting in the dugout. Sitting in the dugout with them talking baseball. And I said, well, what would you say to a young kid who just made it up to the show, to the game, to the major leagues? And he's just, without even batting an eye, just quickly said, "Don't pick your nose. You're probably on camera now
Yeah.
most of the time." And you know what? That's pretty good advice because you got to think that somebody's taking a picture of you at any moment.
You don't want
You're,
to be, you don't want to embarrass yourself or the team,
you don't want to embarrass yourself, your teammates. You don't want to be picking your nose. You don't want that to
especially
show up on your highlight.
it's unnecessary to embarrass yourself that way. Be aware of where you are. Be
That's what the
aware.
tunnel's for. You go in the
You
tunnel,
come out the tunnel and you're on TV.
and yeah, and you well, no, you go in the tunnel and you blow your snot, and you go back out and sit on the bench. Get a tissue, carry a tissue with you.
Sit next to Salty, Peanuts, and Whitey.
Get a handkerchief, and carry that handkerchief with you, but don't get caught picking your nose on the bench. Soundest advice I've ever heard for a young player.
Now, while the Mariners are looking to electrify their presence in the American League, the Mets have done the same in the National League. They woke up finally. They're playing little ball. They're winning games.
Well,
Scoring runs.
Again, same situation there. All of a sudden, the younger guys, the guys that aren't the regulars,
They take their shot. They got a shot. They
got
make
a
the most
shot
of it.
and they're hungry and they want it. Maybe the guy that's making $25 million a year isn't as hungry, but now he's got to be a little hungrier because not that anybody's looking to take his job, but when the standard rises, the standard is the standard, as Mike Tomlin used to say. When the standard rises, you got to rise up with it, or all of a sudden, now you're not going to, get rid of a Soto, or that. But, there's other guys that got to look at themselves on that club and say, I got to start playing with these guys. The thing that I like about what I've seen with the Mets, and I can see the Mets because I have MLB.com through my cell phone company, so I can watch every Mets game if I want. Just can't watch the Mariners every game if I want. But the enthusiasm, the spirit, the thing that they bring, they bring a spirit to the game of wanting to compete, of wanting to be there. It almost felt. And I don't know because I'm not, again, you're at a distinct disadvantage all the time when you're not in the clubhouse to speak the truth. I can make up stories and say, well, there's discord in the clubhouse and well this and well that. But the truth is we don't know what's going on in the clubhouse unless we're in the clubhouse.
That's a fact.
You don't know. And that's one thing I learned. So, a lesson I learned when I started doing the Mariners games as opposed to working at KJR, where when you worked at KJR, you got over to the ballpark, you talked to some players sometimes.
It wasn't your beat.
But you weren't there every night. You didn't get that feeling of what's going on in the clubhouse. And the beat reporters did. So you had to make friends with the beat reporters and kind of get what they see, and see if that's if you want to take that for gospel. And luckily, we had a bunch of beat reporters here that I was friendly with and could trust and could find out things that were going on that I missed. But when you're not in there every day, you don't get that. You don't live with the ball club. When you
The funny thing about the teams that are successful, like the Atlanta Braves, they have a personality. They have a reputation as a no-star team, a team that pulls together, a team that has makes its own breaks, a team that has its own energy level that they call upon, a team that has a certain life on the bench, a certain life and a certain support. You got two guys on, everybody's up on the rail. Let's get these runs in. Let's figure out a way, yelling, screaming at each other. Get a hit, put it through the spot. This one's got eyes. And they are involved without being, it's natural, it's organic, it's real. And teams long for that. Now, to use an example of the team you already mentioned, the White Sox, the Chicago White Sox have that life? Do they have that spirit on the bench? Do they have that ability to start their own rallies, that ability to be their own support system? I'm not saying they don't, but I'm saying that the Atlanta Braves are famous for it this year, and it started last year. It's because it seems to work for them. They're the best team in baseball. And the other teams that like our loved Giants and our Mets can't get started. They're in their own way. Same thing with the Dodgers. The Dodgers are winning, then they're losing, then somebody gets hurt, then somebody that comes up, then somebody takes their place. They're not hitting on all cylinders, and they can't find that magic spot where they know that they're going to win. Not that they can't win. They are a winning team, but they don't have what they had in 1 year, whatever that life was. It's different this year. And that makes a difference because the results are right there, right there in the sports page every day. You can't argue with the results. You can't argue with the reality that you're not winning the games that you would have won last year. And it's not like you don't want to, but there are certain things that are preventing it. Injury list, somebody coming back, somebody been traded, somebody is.
Well, it's got to be fun to go to the ballpark, Michael. It's got to be, it can't feel like it's a chore.
You're going to play a kid's game.
Right, to go to the ballpark. And I mean, these guys are professionals and they know it's a job and yada, yada, yada. But it also, I think, for a lot of players, has to be that they're getting something for their effort. They're seeing that the other guy on the team is making the same effort as they are.
And there's some magic that you can't describe.
Everybody is trying on an equal level. If there's one thing that I can think of that I pulled out of teams like the 2001 Mariners and even those Mariners of the late 90s, you had to feel like everybody was given a good effort every day. And in 2001, of course, the season that they won 116 games, it just felt like they felt like it were at some points that they weren't going to lose another game that year. That it was, they were going to go to the ballpark expecting to win. That was the thing that the Yankees felt when they were in that place, that the Mets felt, that the Dodgers feel, that all good teams feel. That now they don't take it for granted.
They just assume they're going to win every game.
They go to the ballpark thinking that they're going to win every game. And, I don't know, you and I used to argue about this every once in a while because, among many other things, would be that I always felt that, at the beginning of the year, every ball player, shows up thinking that they're going to be able to win the pennant. You got to think that when you show up at the ballpark. Now, as the year progresses, you find out that you're not. You look at what your prospects are and you start to say, I don't know if we got.
And no matter what you do, you can't change it.
Yeah, and so you can go one of two ways. You can still play your ass off because you're a professional and that's what you do. That's what you give to the world, or you can start to slack off. And
that's an ugly thing in baseball.
Take outs off in the field. Just not give the same effort. And that is contagious on a ball club. Because one guy sees it and he says, well, if he can get away with it, I can get away with it. And next thing you know, guys are daydreaming. They're looking up in the stands for for some woman that looks good or some whatever they're doing to look at, to distract themselves from the game because they at some point don't want to be there. And I always think
that's a tough position. Once you've talked yourself into that, it's hard to talk yourself out of it.
Yeah, you don't all of a sudden snap and go, oh, I'm on a major league field. Something has to happen to generate, to reconstitute, to bring that ball club back into a place where guys are enthusiastic about going to the ballpark. Now, a lot of times that's a mid-season trade. a lot of times, right? I mean, that's a new blood coming in. All of a sudden we're going to get a new pitcher, or we're going to get a new shortstop, or a new second baseman, or a new center field, or somebody.
And that's when Salty or Peanuts or Whitey comes to you and says, Skipper wants to see you.
Yeah. They got to make room on the roster, or they got to, that's when the rubber hits the road. That's when the times when you think that you're looking up in the stands and nobody's watching, you find out, kid, don't pick your nose, because there's always a camera on you.
You were on TV, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, and don't think we didn't see that.
And that's why guys that know how to hustle, not because they're told to, because they just do it. When you take the field, when you leave the field, when it's 3 outs and you're at shortstop, you don't walk in, you don't talk to the guy, you don't wait for the center fielder to say, what are you doing after the game? You hustle into the bench, and you don't have to be told. It comes from within you. It's the safest place you can be. And you can always rely on your own hustle. You can't make the ball land where you want it. You can't hit it out of the park when you need it. You can't make your friends and your teammates do it. But that hustle that comes from within you, if it's there every day, if you don't know how to do it without the hustle, you're in good hands. That's what you have to do to self-motivate. The players who know how to do it never forget.
Yeah, if you don't know how to do it without the hustle, you probably shouldn't be on a major league roster. But there are guys that get there, because they have a unique talent. They're able to hit a curveball. They're able to reach out and grab that outside, that outside low one that right. Other people may not be able to get, but your arms are 2 weeks longer, So, but it's it's nice enthusiasm for the club. It's nice enthusiasm for it always does one's heart good to see young talent come up.
20-year-old come up and start to hit, make a difference in the game, win one for the team.
Yeah. So, you hope that it's real. You hope that it lasts a while. You hope that in August they'll be talking about this prospect. Remember when he came up in May, how he just affected the game. How he got the Mariners back on track. And you become a hero once you're. I don't want to say hero. I always hate doing that. I do it, and I hate because ever since September 11th, I've always gotten this different definition of what a hero is. So I hate to point at a ball player and say he's a hero because he goes out and swings a bat. But you become a special part of that team because it was on you partially that the team turned things around.
Just had a cat off for a hairball. It has nothing to do with baseball. I'll just put that in there.
Did that and big hairball?
Pretty good size. In 2 parts. Hey. This is the element of the cat, the gift of having a cat live with you that they don't talk about. What else can your cat do? Well, they can do a hairball every once in a while. What can you do that? No. And when he was a rookie kitty and he came up, could he do the hairball? Yeah, right away. He had that talent. He could hit the curve and he could do a hairball.
He had a 2-pitch repertoire. He had the hairball and the spitball. And do cats ever have to go to the vet because of hairballs?
I don't think so.
Out or
if it becomes chronic, I suppose so. I've never had. It would have to be a long-haired cat, and we've had medium-haired cats. Long-haired cats are sometimes their faces are pushed in. They got the flat face, and the ears don't have a place to be.
Any of the cats I had, I don't remember them ever having hairball problems.
We have 2 cats. One cat is consistent with these hairballs. The other cat has no hairballs. So what are you going to do?
try to split the hairball problem up.
So how did the Mets wake up? Did they just start hitting the ball, or did somebody lead the
Well, I
way?
had a couple of. They brought this kid Ewing up,
There
and
you
he
go.
started clocking the ball. They brought a couple of kids up from AAA, and they woke the place up. They started hitting the ball. They were and plus they were young and enthused. They are young and enthusiastic,
And the fans liked that, didn't they?
and the
The fans
fans
reacted.
love that. The
Yeah.
fans. I mean, New York loves a winner, or New York loves somebody that looks like a winner.
And
Even though they might not be a winner, they'll still, if you look like a winner.
it cures all your ills in a big hurry.
Yeah, when you suck and you start to win, all of a sudden people take note of you. They start to look at you and they start to say, "Hey, this is pretty good. This is something that we should pay $20 on a discounted Monday night ticket to go see." Used to be you just go out to the ballpark, ride the 7 train out to the ballpark, and spend your $1.75 for a general admission seat, sneak down, and watch the ball game. But now it's a little bit more expensive than that. I know
Still the 7 train.
Yeah, oh yeah, still the 7 train. I think they're now they were down in Washington last night. It was a wild game. I wasn't watching the game. I was listening to it, and they won 16-7 in 10 innings. No, 12 innings. Excuse me. So
they got busy at the end. It sounds like
the last 3 innings, 4 innings. It was almost like you were listening to, everybody went, this guy got up, that guy got up, this guy got up. It reminded me of what I was listening to. And again, I was in and out of the car when I was listening to it. The famous fireworks game back in 1983, 84 with the Braves, when the Mets played the second game of a doubleheader. And the game started late to begin with because they had some kind of mid-game ceremony. And then, so the game started late and it won 19 innings, I believe.
That's a long game.
But it won every time somebody would score, would do something, the other side would come back in the bottom of the top of that inning and equal the score. And I believe there was one time the Braves scored like 4 runs.
Didn't look good. It looked like the game was over.
20 in like the 16th inning. And the Mets came back and like the pitcher, the relief pitcher, like Pete Falcone,
hits
a home run, like a 3-run home run. I send them up there because nobody's got. No, they're out of people.
I got one guy on the bench. I'm not sending him up to pinch hit for you. Go, Pete.
Yeah, and it was a crazy game. Well, the Mets had 10 runs in the 12th inning last night of their 16-7 win over the Nationals. First team since the 1983 Rangers to score double digits in a single extra inning. Their output matched the 4th most runs any team has scored in an extra inning in Major League Baseball history. One of only 7 clubs to accomplish that feat. Now,
and the Nationals had an incident last night in the game. You read about it. Someone put a white supremacist banner up for a brief period of time before taking it down. And the guys went back and looked at the videotape and found the guys and kicked them out and banned them from baseball. And the interesting that it was on the same day as the shooting in San Diego, which was propagated by 2 teenage white supremacists who thought somehow came to the conclusion that after 17 years of age that they were the superior race, and that the kids at the Islamic Center were an inferior race. And they were going to put things right because they had racial pride. And so that racial pride was illustrated by the guys who put up that banner, and they were apprehended, and the banner was confiscated, and they were banned from baseball. And that's how the game is played.
Well, why? If you're a young kid today and the president of the United States is spouting all this bullshit,
there's your inspiration.
Not just the president of the United States, but people in your neighborhood, people where you live, if you live in one of these crazy neighborhoods, that are just, you're constantly being fed a diet of the Christians are we have a Department of War instead of a Department of Defense. We have this, we have that. When you hear all of this rhetoric, when you hear all of this stuff, I mean, and I'm not making any excuse for them. They're old enough to know better.
Apparently
but
not.
When you hear this kind of stuff and you're surrounded by it all the time, it takes a pretty strong mind not to buy into it at 17 years old.
It's a beautiful sunny day in San Diego. We could go to Mission Beach and enjoy the day, but no. I think I'll steal my mom's gun and car and go. By the way, they were so inspired by their racial pride that their plan never got them even past the sidewalk. One security guard, a hero, saved all the lives of anybody inside by distracting these guys and meeting their fire with fire. Their attack ended up being just a foray down the street where they shot at a guy who was manicuring a lawn, and then they killed themselves. Next time they get excited about something, these two kids, start with killing yourself.
Yeah, kill yourself first and leave the rest of us alone.
Then we'll talk later.
And then they had, I guess, and I know it was a crazy day down there because any kind of religious facility where they had, from what I understand, any kind of religious facility or most religious facilities with a certain vicinity of that incident were put on lockdown.
Yep.
Because I know somebody that works at one down there, and they were put on lockdown.
I'd be interested to know what kind of family these kids came from, because for folks who know, San Diego is a military town. A lot of Navy, a lot of Marines, a lot of Air Force, a lot of people being deployed and stationed, and people who are out of the service don't stray from there. All the cops in town are ex-Marines. It's a military town.
Yeah, it's always been. You mentioned cops being ex-Marines, so it's always been. Southern California has always had a large proportion of police officers that are ex-servicemen, mostly Marines, actually. But there's always been a large proportion, and that's why it's always felt like, in many ways, that it's a more of a military state. More of a military situation, because they handle things. They're certainly not the New York cops.
These are not Irish cops.
These are not the New York cops that crack you on the back of the knees and let you run home. It's a different breed.
And if you remember the last time we went to Yankee Stadium, there was an Irish cop directing traffic in the Bronx. And he was not only directing traffic with his arms and legs, with his arms and hands, but he was yelling out, "Hey, you over there! Get over here! Come on! Get over there!"
What do you got? Direction.
He had a wonderful George Carlin Irish cop accent,
and
he was a tenor.
Hey, you better move it over there.
I can't do it.
Which is a distinctly different accent than the Italian New Yorker or
oh yeah, definitely.
The educated East Side liberal New Yorker.
Hey, you going to the Copa or what? You going extra hours or what?
You listen to me. You go down the corner there. You give me 2 quarts of motor oil, and you get the motor oil, and you come back here, you get the spigot, and you bring me my change, and put it in the car.
Be a good boy.
Oh man, that's funny. That is funny. Yeah, it's yeah, they have a different take on, or had a different take on policing in Southern California, and certainly in California in general, as most other places. Um, but you would, yeah, they would, wore the high and tight haircut and everything, and you could tell them. Well, again, it's a sad situation.
Well, these kids were not fully formed. They weren't adults, not yet. They didn't have adult ideas. They didn't have an adult experience. They didn't have anybody telling them that their ideas about life were totally wrong.
Well, where are their parents?
Well, the mother did call the cops, but I don't know if she's a single mother or single parent or not.
Yeah, I mean, that
As they say, the product of a broken home.
yeah, I hear that a lot. I hear that from people. Well, if we didn't have the divorce rate, if we didn't have the this rate or that rate, or single mothers didn't get, people didn't get pregnant, they wouldn't have this problem, um,
Or the idea that the problems of the world are somebody else's.
yeah,
I'm fine. I'm great. I'm set. I'm perfect. I'm 17 and ready to go. But these Muslims that go to the Muslim school, that's the problem. That's what's wrong with my neighborhood. That's what's wrong with my life. That's what's wrong with San Diego. We got to put an end to that. Trump said, Hexa said, I saw on TV, I heard on the internet. What?
Well, and you also get these guys like Nick Fuentes and these people that are they're put in the media spotlight by both the legitimate media and the Tucker Carlsons of the world.
Oy.
They're given real estate on mainstream media stations to espouse their ideas. They're not looked at as freaks. They're interviewed like they're regular, normal people.
Like they're actual people.
And somebody sees that. We had people like that when I was growing up in New York. We had people that would spout off racist kind of stuff all the time, and have the ideas of George Wallace was big back in the 60s, the late 60s. He was kind of the symbol of
segregation now, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever.
He was the and actually did quite well for a third party candidate in some of those elections.
He wasn't big on the smile. He didn't have a politician's smile. That's all I needed.
No, he had a slimy. Yeah, there was this slimy thing about him.
You couldn't get a smile out of him.
Enough. Toward the end of his life, after he got shot, he kind of changed his tune.
Well, these kids changed their tune yesterday after they got shot too.
Yeah,
no more tune out of them.
Yeah, no more tune. Well,
did they get together, take the gun, take their mother's car, put on their camo and drive into town? And were they talking all the way about it? It's going to be such fun today. We're going to shoot up the place. Then we get to kill each other.
They figured out, I mean, what reward are they getting out of it? But I guess, strangely enough, they get the same reward that the guys that hijacked the planes and flew them into the World Trade Center get, right?
You get nothing.
You get to be a martyr for the cause.
No receipt.
Which equals nothing. You get nothing. Nobody gives you a state funeral. Nobody gives you.
There's no heaven waiting for you.
You get nothing.
What happened to the heaven that was supposed to be waiting for us? You misread that. There's no heaven waiting for you. What about tomorrow? No, I wouldn't look forward to tomorrow either. Yeah, that's not happening.
Going away of Colbert.
That would be a no. The answer is no. You get nothing.
Yeah, and again, people are going to say, "Well, you're blaming Trump. You're blaming," but no, I'm not blaming Trump. I'm blaming the whole dang movement that allows Trump to happen.
That loves him, that dances with him, that
That
praises
loves
him.
that looks at him as a savior, as a messiah. Well, and you know what? They got their price of the messiah yesterday. They'll be paying. I forget what the number. What is it? $1.8 billion.
1.76. But let's
They'll
say
be,
1.8 because he'll round it up.
yeah, they'll be paying. They'll be paying. We'll be paying. We'll all be paying for a fund for these scumbags.
To reward idiocy. By the way, those two kids get none of that money. They don't get a dime.
They're not going to get anything, huh? They were
No,
trying to get in on the deadline and they missed it.
sorry. Once again, the answer is no. What do we get? Nothing.
Nothing.
Where do we go? Nowhere.
Nowhere.
What did we do? Well, you didn't do much.
Yeah, it's amazing that these kids are well, not these kids, but these people, people. What really riles me about this, almost more than anything else, is you cut funding from Medicaid,
Yeah.
you cut funding from Head Start, you cut funding from social programs for seniors.
So you can build a ballroom for the Proud Boys.
Yeah, so you can build a ballroom for the Proud Boys and give them all a check. You're supposed to be for law and order, and you hand it out, and you're going to hand out money to people that assaulted police officers, that tried to kill the vice president of the United States. Whether you like him or you didn't like him, he was still the vice president of the United States, who stood outside a building and said, "Hang him with a noose."
Got it right here.
And who are easily, you could draw a line to the fact that if they would have got a hold of him that day, they would have hung him that day.
Tomas.
They would have ripped him apart. And we're going to have to pay. We're going to have to pay for that.
They get a signing bonus. It's like they're a star shortstop coming up from the AAA.
Don't besmirch the. Don't denigrate the name of all-star shortstop or all-star baseball player.
I withdraw my comment.
That scumbag, piece of shit president that we have.
He's malfunctioning at such an increased rate. I don't know how much longer we can watch him deteriorate. I mean, there's got to be a point where it doesn't work anymore. That's the way it is with cars that start to act up. They don't stop acting up till they're finished.
Well, I unfortunately feel like we're still way far away from that, because I still I don't think that he's lost his, as much as people want to say he lost his grip.
Well, his press conferences are so disjointed and so difficult to follow. If you were just showing up here from 10 years in another country where they had no news, you wouldn't be able to follow him. That's the president? What's he talking about? What's he saying? What did he mean by that? That doesn't make any sense. What's a ballroom?
You'd say, how in the world could you have the conditions that you have in this country going on, and you be building a ballroom?
I don't know if you saw Jon Stewart on Monday night. Jon Stewart does the Daily Show on Monday nights only. And he put his hands to his head and said, I don't know what's going on. How does this work? It doesn't make any sense. Everything that he does should destroy him, but it makes him stronger. Everything he does makes no sense. There's no logic. There's no direction. There's no intelligence, no thought given to it. It's remarkable. Why does this work? Why is this happening? What the hell's going on? And it was a series of questions out of comedic desperation that
Well, it
had no
goes on
answer.
because the people that we elected to Congress and have had chances to get rid of didn't have the gumption to do it.
Didn't have the balls.
Didn't have the gumption to vote him out of, to vote the people who enabled him.
It's funny how the political right is afraid of this man. Where does that fear come from? Because he can take their job. That's all. Well, they would rather have that job as and operate as a vassal of the leader of the dear Führer, to do what he wants, to find out what he's going to. Now this whole thing about the ballroom, they're the preachers that were in Washington for the evangelical meeting on the mall. Every one of them brought up the ballroom, how God wants the ballroom, how this is what God has always wanted. He's always wanted a ballroom.
Well, what did they bring up the moment after after Trump got shot or got attempted, I should say? The attempted assassination. I mean, it was on everybody's. It was almost like, gee, like
God stopped it.
It's here's before they went into the dinner, they were giving the press points. Yep. They were giving the talking points, the agenda.
Here's what you believe, and here's what you'll say, and here's what you'll do.
Just stay. If you're told, stay low while we send our guys in to take care of business.
We got a little something that we have in mind.
No, I don't. I've seen Jon Stewart do that segment before, a similar segment, and I've asked the question myself: How do we let this guy? How do we, as a country, are supposed to be the smartest fucking people in the world? How do we let this happen?
And Stewart's theory was, here's a guy that does everything wrong, everything, every step of the way, every comment that he can make, every negotiation, every complex problem that he has to face, everything it is, from COVID to the war to redistricting the southern states so that Black people don't have representation. Everything he does is wrong. Everything he does is black. Everything he does is evil. Everything he does is the wrong way to go about it. And he skates every time. There is no payback. There's no brakes. People talk about the guardrail. Forget the guardrail. We're way past the guardrail. There's just no brakes at all. And it's fascinating how now this fund of $1.7 billion, where the hell did that come from? What other president could put together a fund to pay the enemies of the state and have nobody stand up and say, hold it, wait a minute, we're not doing that.
Yeah, this is wrong. This is not going to happen. Well, the only shot we have right now is that we have to work as hard as possible at the midterms to elect people that have a different point of view than Donald Trump. We have to get every one of these people out of office, and then your job won't be over once you vote, because you're going to have to make sure that your vote gets counted. You're going to have to maybe get on your computer and see your vote on the computer, where that's available, or maybe go down to the county register's office, or you're going to have to check on your vote. You're going to have to work for it this year. It's not going to be easy to get our country back from these people. It would have been easy 6 years ago, whatever it was, when Mitch McConnell went down there and kissed his ring, or the clown from Fresno there that went down and was going to kick his ass and came back with his diaper firmly drug up his ass. That's who you're going to have to contend with. We had our chances. We had our chances to fix it, and we said, "Oh, well, it's only Donald Trump. He's only it's only Trump. He's just making a joke. That's how he is. You're in chance of when you're in danger of losing your house, your car, your rights, your money.
Don't think that Trump's going to save it for you.
And then they want to take our money and put it into our Social Security money and put it into Bitcoin.
Donnie Jr. can take it out, but you can't.
Yeah, see what happens when you go down and try to cash one of those checks. I'm still convinced that this whole Bitcoin thing is a scam.
It remains a scam until you can convert it to dollars.
It's a criminal enterprise that you have to find somebody who will convert it to dollars for you, who will take a piece of paper that says you have this.
Can't figure out where it is, but we say it exists.
Has no idea where that account is, and say, okay, we'll give you this much cash. We'll give you this paper that looks like this for that paper that looks like that.
But it said 26,000. You gave me 24. Well, we're adjusting for inflation and for the future. I don't know if it really is 26. It says it's 26, but 26 what? $26,000? If it was $26,000, it wouldn't say Bitcoin. It would say dollars. So it's not $26,000. It's 26,000 in Bitcoin. I'll give you 24 in real money. Real money? What happened to my account? We're adjusting for reality.
Grocery store and buy $26,000 worth of creamsicles?
If you got $26,000 in Tinder, legal Tinder, that's one thing. If you're coming into a grocery store with your Bitcoin, see how far you get.
Well, they got them machines in the grocery store. They had it say, Bitcoin, we'll sell you Bitcoin. Insurance company, they're calling me to see how I'm doing. You don't want to know, lady.
Just give me the dough before you go in.
It's funny whenever the insurance company, the health insurance company calls to see how you're doing, they don't want to know how you're doing.
They don't care how you're doing.
They didn't call you to ask how you're doing.
I'm saying how you're doing, but I don't care how you're doing.
Yeah.
What do you really care about?
Are
we even? Are we good? Are you going to be able to make your payment next month? Yeah.
I care much more about what, whether you want this medicine or if you want that medicine, you're going to have to pay for it because we're going to not pay for it anymore.
By the way, we're here on a Tuesday because our Monday show was disrupted and our Wednesday show is going to be disrupted. We should be back on Friday, but no promises. We hope to be.
You never know. Now, is our Wednesday show going to be disrupted?
Well, I thought you had a date on Wednesday.
No, I got it for later. I think it's... No, I think we'll have a Wednesday show.
Great. That's tomorrow.
Yeah, that's tomorrow. I think that let me check my appointment. I'm pretty sure I set it up for later in the day, but let me look to make sure.
Well, you're in charge then, whatever you want.
Unfortunately, my mind seems to always be
on Shanana.
Yeah, I should only be so lucky. I just, okay, let's look at this here and see what it says. The good thing is they make these, tomorrow is May 20th, right?
Could be, no promises.
Yes. Tomorrow's May 20th, 1:40. No, I'm good. We're good. We can have a show tomorrow.
Okay. Well, in that case, I'll see you tomorrow at 10 to 10.
Yes. Here we are. We make it up as we go along, literally. Yes, I will see you tomorrow at 10 after 10. And you noticed that we were close to the 10 after 10 today.
Not bad.
We're going to hit that. We're going to hit it one day.
We've hit 10:09. We've come early, but we've never been right on time. We're proud of that.
Well, that's part of our endearing charm. Is you want us, you have to work for us a little bit.
And our story is always the same. We're going to be here at 10 after 10 or sometime soon.
Yeah. Sometimes.
Sometimes reasonably close to 10 after 10. It ain't radio. It's not the top of the hour. By the way,
Yeah.
CBS is going away. There was not going to be a top of the hour.
Yeah, that's sad. Although I have a couple of people that I know that have been hired by what is going to try to replace CBS radio.
I'm glad to hear that.
Maybe got the only new jobs in radio yesterday in LA.
Who's the parent company?
It's you'll laugh at this. It's the guy that runs WABC in New York.
The guy that owns the WABC.
Yeah, Ted, Greek guy, owns WABC in New York.
He's got a hate radio station going there. Is he going to be able to do the straight news?
Well, that's what that's what so far. Now, one of the guys that has been hired by him is not a hate talk guy. I don't know about the other guys, but the two guys that I know so far that have been hired by that network are pretty straight arrows when it comes to news.
And I hope they can stick to it. I wish them luck.
Yeah, I hope so too.
I always said that who, what, where, when, and how was enough. But by the time you did that, you've done a lot. If you can do it right.
And New York's a tough market, but if they can garnish some beans.
This is the hairball cat. He wants you to know he's okay.
Good.
Now he'll do it again. He wants you to know that. Sometime in the next month.
Cats will always do it if they get the opportunity.
See, there's his eyes. He's looking at you, Vinnie.
Yep. Oh, I didn't see you down there. You were hiding behind the logo, the CNG or whatever it is. Hello. Hiya.
That's Tomas. We call him Tomas because he's got big feet. Polydactyl.
Tomas is, he's that's a rare look.
He's a 30-pound cat.
Tomas. Oye, kitty. Kitty.
No, he's going to ignore you and me. Yeah. Who else but a cat would sit on your lap and then ignore you?
Well, let's see. Probably 25 of the girlfriends I had.
There he is.
Oh, there he is again. Hello, Tomas.
He's got a black nose. He's got a black heart on his nose.
Oh, he's a cutie. Look at that. He's actually participating. We should figure out a way to get him to talk.
Well, it's going to involve food. Just know that.
Well, well, that's how you get me to talk. All right. Tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning, 10 past 10, Mikey and Vinnie. See you then.
10 past 10, Mikey and Vinnie. Be here or not. But if you're not here, you'll miss out.
Be here or you'll miss the hairball. You don't want to do that.
Right. You don't want to miss the hairball because it's the one time every month that it comes up. If you miss it.
In Spolpakia, they have a day of the week. All the cats do the hairballs at the same time.
Yeah. Well, that's just a week before winter starts. And they have the Spolpakian ladies.
The winter starts like 4 times a year, right?
Yeah. Lined up at their sewing machines, ready to go. And that's how the Spolpakian winter garment industry was founded back in, I don't know, whatever year Spolpakia took independence.
Back in the good old days.
From Upper Spolpakia.
Well, the history is a checkered mess, but that's part of it.
That's the fun of it. And nobody wrote it down. You see, that's the thing about Spolpakia. Nobody wrote the history down.
It's a country where word of mouth still means something.
Yeah. Yeah, they tell each other. There's no law book. They just have a guy come in and he
what guy come in?
Well, they can't afford a regular notary public, so they get a guy.
The guy who comes in. That's how so much trouble starts in the world. A guy comes in. I got a guy who comes in. Oh no, don't let him come in. Maybe you got a guy, but don't let him in.
Yeah, unless he comes by the back door, don't let him in.
Well, work on your Irish cop accent, okay?
Yes, certainly I will. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow,
Peace,
Ben.
love, and Manischewitz. If
What
of
a
course the
wine.
Lord's willing and the creek don't rise. Good to see you, Michael.
Good to see you.
All right. Peace, love, and Manischewitz, baby.